Hi, this video is for me to tell you about myself, and if you want to tell me about yourself in the comments or tag me in a video about you telling me about yourself, then I'd love to see that. I started doing marketing in 11th grade in high school in 2010-2011. Around 2013, when I was a freshman in college, I started doing business as deaf child. I have my Bachelor of Science from the College of Music and Fine Arts of Loyola University, New Orleans. I majored in music industry studies and I minored in business administration. I was diagnosed with sensorineurogenetic deafness in 2000. The earliest audiogram I own is from 2005. At the Shea Ear Clinic in 2005, they told me that there was not any form of technology for my deafness. So at that point, I had been raw dogging it my whole life. No sign language, no hearing aids, no nothing. I did end up getting hearing aids when I was 24, and that was an experience itself. I'm also noticing that I do get deafer every year. And at this point, I had been learning sign language about a year and a half. I am a twin. I have put myself on top of me here. That's my twin next to me. I do have a little sister, 7 years younger than me. And my brother is 5 years older than me. My parents do come from a long line of colonizers. So on my mom's side, all I have to go on is her word and my family's word on that end. And so to that end, all I really know is that we have English and Scottish and Irish heritage. I have done thorough investigation into my family tree on familysearch.org. And my mom's side of the family cannot be traced beyond my great-grandparents, so I only know that, all of them were born in the United States. On my dad's side, we can trace a lot of his family on his dad's side for many, many, many generations. My dad has been in the United States, his family, for at least 8 generations, so we come from a long line of some of the original big-time colonizers, actually, when you look at my family tree. So my dad, his family, he is mostly English, Scottish, Irish, and Welsh descent. He does have some indigenous descent from the Tsenacommacah tribe, the Mattaponi Nation, the Pamunkey tribe, and Powhatan tribe and chiefdom. Based on familysearch.org, I do know exactly who my indigenous ancestors are that I descend from, as well as the tribes that they belong to. I do think that my family is a direct reflection of cultural genocide and eradication of indigenous people. And when you look at my family tree and I'm able to see, okay, these motherfuckers were the slave owners, it really puts into perspective. It explains in some ways why my family is so fucked up in terms of the amount of work that my family needs to do to decolonize. And it puts into perspective how much work I need to do. But it also kind of feels like it explains why I have been in some ways programmed or have been raised to believe certain things that I've then had to unlearn. And also a lot of that can be attributed to the mass indoctrination system of our public education system. So my dad's dad and my dad are where the native ancestry that I have is traced from. I'm obviously not connected to the culture. In history class, in college, I took global history and world history, and in high school and in middle school, I learned all about my European ancestry in terms of the English, Scottish, Irish, and Welsh politics and things like that, and world history. And I did have some teachers that were very socially progressive, and within the constructs of the confines of their job that they did try to teach a decolonized version of history. For example, the only black teacher I had in middle school was my social studies teacher. And I'll literally have flashbacks thinking of things that she has said. And the way she explained history without repeating colonized narratives, but explaining the history of the book so we could pass the test and know what was happening, was just amazing. And she'd always, tell us to ask key questions about where was the money going, who was benefiting what, and who were the key people in control of the power. But, besides that, for the most part, I've got a very colonized, mainstream education. And so I do know who my native ancestors are. I actually do know a good bit of their history as it has been told by the tribal historians. And I have reached out to the Tsenacommacah, Mattaponi, and Pamunkey tribes to discuss confirmation of this lineage. And I have been in touch with the Mattaponi Nation Enrollment Office, and I believe that they are currently checking and confirming this lineage for me. And part of me wants, or has really started this journey, or is seeing if it's a journey that is appropriate for me to take, because I know my history of my ancestors, and the Tsenacommacah tribe around the 1600s, the British gave an order around 1660s, 1670s to just massacre all of them. And they basically, the white men assaulted the woman basically and killed all the men. One of my ancestors, who was born of the Mattaponi and Pamunkey tribes of, mom and dad, she was stolen from her people. She was assaulted. She was never allowed to return. So part of me has, had two arguments in my head. On one side, I'm like, it would be wise potentially to close off reconnection to someone of my type of lineage, because my family did go assimilate into whiteness due to racism, because it was beneficial for the family. And when I say they didn't care, I'm not talking about the women and the people who were forced into cultural assimilation to save their own lives. I'm talking about the people who did the cultural assimilation not caring, or the people forcing the cultural assimilation. So I see that side of being like, all right, let's close those doors. Fuck them bitches. And on another level, part of me is like, but if it weren't for those ancestors, I would not exist. Which for me does feel like those ancestors I know about are part of me, part of my journey to being. But I also don't want to feel entitled to a culture that is not mine. Another part of me sometimes is like, when I think of the genocide that happened and the fact that the British tried to completely eradicate the Tsenacommacah tribe, the Mattaponi tribe, the Pamunkey tribe, the Powhatan Nation, I'm still here. But as much as I like to think that, I know that I'm not a representative of what it means to still be here after these events. Because there are real people connected to the culture and to the tribe and to the history that still exists. So I'm not trying to approach learning about this history or discussing this history in any way, shape, or form that erases those people. And if you are a potential relative of mine from the tribes that I descend from, or if you're just indigenous and you have tips for me to engage in these conversations in a way that is not harmful and actually helpful, I was about to say all ears, but I'm deaf, hard of hearing, so I'm not all ears. But I'm not all eyes either, because I have low vision. But I'm paying attention. So this is what I'm processing about myself in this specific moment. If you ever have any questions or concerns, particularly about anything deaf or marketing or music related, I am happy to answer those questions or comments. You get the response you get for free, and for professional responses, I do charge $10 a minute per video response. Links to pay for that are in my website, and just specify that it's to answer a question, not a tip.